when I was practicing, I go to the office and like, oh, wait, this thing is due. And there you are in a flurry of activity, right? Okay. What I could tell what I know now that I didn't know then is that it always makes sense to go ahead and plan your week, plan your day before you sit down. Planning your week, planning your day goes a long way.
Welcome to our Happy Rainmakers video series where point one can make a difference. I'm joined today by Michelle Thompson, who is the founder and CEO of Resistant Vision. Thank you so much for being here, Michelle.
And thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Well, I am just going to get right into it because you have such valuable information for the people who are listening. I know the one complaint that I hear all the time, and the one thing that I don't miss from my former practice are billable hours.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I hear billable hours are often the bane of a lawyer's existence. Does it have to be that way?
No. And I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion. Maybe it's controversial, but here's my take on it. This is an opportunity. All right, you can either do the things that come your way when they come your way, right? So it's mergers and acquisitions at the end of the year. Boy, all the hours show up in the first 3 weeks of December, and you're miserable. We can do it that way, or. And actually, there are lawyers who do this. I had a wonderful conversation with someone who does do this. Use them as a way to plan what you're doing, right? It depends on how you use them. So if you actually go, okay, wait, you could gamify it even, right? If the goal is to win 2,500 points by December 31st, how am I going to play this game, right? And you're going to decide. I never thought I would use that analogy in my life, but here we are. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at how many of those points you're going to get every month, and plan how you're going to do them. If you know that you're going to take a vacation in June, you may have to front load or back load some of those hours. And it doesn't mean that the work is going to come in exactly when you want and everything, but you know that if you get to the end of January and you are a few hours ahead, fantastic. It gives you time in another place, right? If you're a few hours behind, you need to make that up. You can decide to make it up in February, or you can decide to make it up as you move along with every month. But you can use them to plan your work. Otherwise, you're going to be sick and upset if you don't have a strategy for dealing with it, right? And you want to check in with this monthly, quarterly, yearly, right? A plan is the key to it.
So I guess if you think of it as a game, it sounds less horrible. But what do you do if you're a few hours behind and it's March now and you want to get a little bit ahead because you have a vacation planned in June, but you're a little light? What do you suggest?
It's time to start asking the other partners at the firm or senior lawyers who you might be working with, do you have work for me to do? Or this is really where it's important to make sure that you're building a book of business, right? If you're building a book of business alongside doing your hours, and I know you don't get credit for building a book of business until you bring in a client, right? But if you're building your book of business, you're going to be in much more control of how those hours come in, right? And there's a lot one can say about how to do that, but that's where these two things work hand in hand, so they don't have to be the bane of your existence.
Yeah, we always tell the lawyers we speak to that building a book of business is a long-term investment in your career, because at some point when you are bringing in those clients, that's revenue that's coming to the firm, and the exact amount of hours you're billing isn't quite as important to the firm.
It's not quite as important, and you can make them because you're bringing them in. You're like, I got this.
Now, I would guess that some firms give billable credit for certain things and not every associate knows. So if you're a little bit light and you could get up to 200 hours of billable credit for pro bono or for firm projects or for being on the associates committee or whatever it is, you might be able to volunteer for some of those activities.
Absolutely. Keep it light. Don't go crazy with these things when you're first starting. But that's a very easy way to do that.
And I would also imagine that you might have some advice to record their time on a contemporaneous basis.
Yes. And actually, when you're planning your time, so I don't start my work day before I actually plan my day. And I think a lot of us who are lawyers, I remember, when I was practicing, I go to the office and like, oh, wait, this thing is due. And there you are in a flurry of activity, right? Okay. What I could tell what I know now that I didn't know then is that it always makes sense to go ahead and plan your week, plan your day before you sit down, right? Sunday evenings is my particular time where I sit down and go, what's here Monday through Friday? I can see where the meetings are. I can see what other things need to get done, and I can plug in my hours. I know if I build my hours, I would know exactly what I was billing on Sunday evening. It doesn't mean that strange things don't happen and throw all plans up, up in the air. But it doesn't mean that you give up on that. Planning your week, planning your day, goes a long way, and then you can just go, here's what I did for my billables. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, I don't know what I did Tuesday at 3, because you won't on Friday or whenever your hours are due, right? You actually, that's your calendar is your friend here.
Well, thank you so much. I know this is going to be some really valuable information for everybody who watched it. So thanks so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. What a pleasure. Thank you.